So if you follow me on Instagram or if you're part of my Facebook group, you will know that I've been asking around, asking people's views about the best ISAs and the sort of platforms that they recommend to have your ISA in. And the amount of people that messaged me on the back of that and said, please share the results, I'm so interested, I'm looking for sort of my ISA for the next year as well. So here's me sharing the results. I'm basically going to take you through what people said, what platforms have come out on top, and then at the end I'm going to share with you what I'm going to do in the new tax year. So overall, I had about 12 different platforms come up with different amounts of votes for each. But basically, there is just no contest in terms of the numbers of votes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share with you the top 4 in terms of votes. And then I'll just share a list of all the others in case you want to have a look at those as well. So the number 1, by far, like no contest, landslide win, literally every single person almost said this, is Vanguard. So it seems like the majority of people have their ISAs with Vanguard, and this was the platform that was almost sort of top for me in terms of considerations for long-term investment sort of into funds. If you watch my portfolio updates and stuff, I already invest a lot into Vanguard ETFs anyway, so I was very much leaning towards going with Vanguard myself. So it was really interesting to see that they by far came out on top in terms of the number of votes. With Vanguard, you can't invest in individual stocks. It is only the Vanguard funds that you can invest in. Having said that, they have 78 funds that you can choose from. So still very, very much diversified. In terms of fees, you're looking at 0.15%, which is really, really low. Like I said, they are by far one of the most popular platforms, and with such low fees and such diversity, they are a huge platform that you should probably consider if you don't already use them. Now, the next 2 in terms of the number of votes were actually head-to-head, and it kind of surprised me, but Trading 212 and Freetrade. I don't really know why it surprised me, but it did. Anyway, with Trading 212 and Freetrade, obviously you can invest in individual stocks. That's the whole sort of premise of these platforms. So if we quickly look at Trading 212 first, with Trading 212, the ISA is completely free. There are no charges, but you do have to pick your own individual investments, of course, but you can invest in things like ETFs. So like I said before about Vanguard, I use Trading 212 obviously for my ISA this year, and I do invest in the Vanguard ETFs. I think one of the most appealing things with the Trading 212 ISA is the literally 0% fees. Obviously with all of them, when you invest in things like ETFs, you've got like the small ETF charges, but they're usually just priced into the price anyway, if that makes sense. So it's not like you see them coming off as charges. Obviously downside here with Trading 212, and a lot of people were asking me in terms of why I'm leaving the Trading 212 ISA this year. Or rather in the new year, and for me it's the customer service element. If you watch most of my videos, you're probably sick of me mentioning customer service lately, but actually over the last sort of 6 months or so, I've been quite frustrated with the customer support, and you know, a lot of the times I've contacted them, the people that reply to me, it's very clear that their English is very poor, they're not really understanding the questions that I'm asking. And it usually takes me a long time to get a response in terms of actually the response that I'm after, or sometimes they don't actually even answer my question at all. So for me, whilst I love the platform and I'm still going to continue using it for individual stocks and things, I think in terms of my ISA, because I want to start really focusing a lot more money on my ISAs, I want to go with a bit more of a serious platform. I do think it's a great beginner platform, and I think if you're investing in mostly individual stocks and shares, then it probably is one to consider alongside Freetrade, which I'll talk about in a second. So don't get too put off from it. If I was focusing mostly on choosing my own funds and investments, then I'd probably stay with them. But for me, the customer service is just so important. Anyway, Freetrade next. Like I said, they were head to head in terms of votes. So Freetrade charge a £3 a month fee for their ISA, which is perfectly fine. It's not a lot of money, especially if you invest larger sums into your ISA. It probably works out cheaper than some of the sort of percentage basis ISAs. However, for me, the reason I didn't decide to go for that is because if I wanted to have an ISA where I can pick and choose my stocks, I'd probably go for trading 2-on-2. I mean, I did this year anyway, so I don't really see the reasoning for paying that when you have another platform that offers it for free. For me, the only sort of way that I see in terms of that makes sense to pay fees for is where you are getting something from it, in terms of like if they are making some sort of decisions on investments for you or anything like that. Now the fourth one in terms of the number of votes was HARGREAVES LANSDOWN. So again, unsurprising I think with this one, but having had a look, their ongoing charges are actually more expensive than Vanguard, and their individual share dealings are very, very, very expensive. So obviously Vanguard, like I said, doesn't offer the individual share dealings. HARGREAVES LANSDOWN does, but they charge anything from £6 to 12 months per trade, which is just ridiculous in my opinion. I think that's way too much to charge when you've got all these free platforms that you can use. So obviously sort of when you compare it to Vanguard, yes, it's got the extra option of individual shares, but the fund charges are higher than Vanguard. And also I referenced a study in one of my latest videos where Boring Money invested funds in 2018 into different platforms, and Vanguard far outstripped the HARGREAVES LANSDOWN performance as well. So I think for me, if it came down to it, out of those four, I would go for Vanguard. And that was my plan. That was literally, I was going to come on here and do a video about how I'm putting my ISA into Vanguard. However, that is not what I'm going to do. Whilst I recommend that probably the majority of people should consider Vanguard based on everything that people said and all the sort of research that I've done, Vanguard is probably the cheapest and safest option if you want the majority of your funds or the majority of your investments to be in funds and ETFs. However, I want to do a bit of an experiment. So if you watch one of my videos recently, I did a review on Moneyfarm, and whilst that was a sponsored review, I really liked the platform as I've been using it. And again, referencing this study, they did sort of top the performance for the last few years on as in they did better than Vanguard, HARGREAVES LANSDOWN and all the others. They also offer the ability to split your ISA into multiple portfolios in terms of risk, and I really like that. So essentially my plan is to do the Moneyfarm ISA for a year and see how it performs, and then from potentially next tax year start with Vanguard, because I think over a very, very, very long period, I do want the majority of my money to be in Vanguard funds, and I want to sort of reduce the fees as much as possible. And obviously Moneyfarm fees are a lot higher than Vanguard's. If you haven't watched the video, go check it out. So the decision is completely nothing to do with sort of them paying me or anything like that for the review. I literally just want to do an experiment. Whilst I'm still really young and quite far off from my financial independence goals, I thought I'd take a higher risk and go for this managed fund this year. And then I can be boring from next year when I turn 30. So that's basically it. Hopefully this was useful. Like I said, this wasn't really a video I planned on doing, but because so many people asked me for the results when I put up the question asking about ISAs, I just thought I'd sneak it in here. So anyway, hope it was useful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.